Welcome back to Mad Talks of Football, and it's a war between Juventus and Douglas Luiz. It has started for the last 48 hours, but it has really escalated now. He first stopped coming to training. He decided not to turn up, and then he has refused to go on their pre-season tour. It feels like that the relationship between Juventus and Douglas Luiz is completely off, and he has sort of said to Juventus that he wants to leave Juventus, and he basically wants to go to the Premier League, but he wants to move out of Juventus. He does not want to play for the club again, and it is a developing story. His agents, they have flown back from their holidays, and they are now in Italy, and some of them are because they are now, the club players are managed by so many people. Some of the party is in England as well. Some of them are in Italy. They are talking to different clubs because he wants to move out of Turin, and he does not want to play for Juventus. Juventus have stayed mum about it. They have only fined Douglas Luiz because he has not turned up for the training, and as I said, he has refused to come for the pre-season tour as well. So it will be quite interesting to see how Juventus take this forward, and what their reaction is going to be to Douglas Luiz doing all this, and doing it so brazenly and so openly in front of everybody, instead of telling the club that he wants to leave in a private manner. Doing this, I mean, it's a tactic used by other players as well. I think it's the agents, it's the agency telling him to put pressure on Juventus that he wants to leave. It is an interesting situation. I mean, just 12 months ago, he went to Juventus for a big money move from Aston Villa, and it has not really worked out for Douglas Luiz. Let's be very honest. He was brought in as a player that was going to take Juventus to the next side. He was going to be one of their main men to challenge for the Scudetto, but we all know how Juventus' season turned out. The manager that brought him in is already sacked as well, and he never really got started, whether it was under Motta or whether it's under the new manager as well. It really did not work out for Luiz. It never really materialized. He was not really, he was given a good run of game by Motta as well, but he was not really able to produce the talents, produce the performances that he did in the Premier League for Aston Villa for Juventus last season, and now it has sort of become quite clear that he's not in the plans of the manager, or in his mind he thinks that he's not in the plans of the manager, or he thinks that he's not going to be able to do what he was able to do in the Premier League at Juve. His main idea is to return back to the Premier League, but as I see it, there are other clubs in Italy who are interested in him as well. But if I'm being very honest, and I look at it, I don't think he's gonna stay in Italy. I mean, why would you, if you want to stay in Italy, why would you leave Juventus, and where would you go? I don't think Napoli are gonna come in for him. I don't think Inter are gonna come for him as well. I don't think Milan are going to come for him. I don't think Atalanta are going to make a move for him because Juve are going to demand big money. I mean, they spent about 60 million euros for Douglas Luiz last year. So even after, just after 1 year, even if they end up selling and whatnot, which I think this move is going to happen, I don't think he's going to play for Juve, after all this. But this is football. Anything can happen anytime. Things change like this. Players and clubs make up and whatnot. But as of now, it's very hard. And if they do decide to sell him, I don't think it's going to be to an Italian club, because I don't think they are going to accept, in my opinion, less than 45 to 50 million euros. They would want that money, and I think there's only a club in the Premier League that are going to pay that much amount. It'll be interesting to see which Premier League club really goes for him, if I'm being very honest, because there are not that many clubs who are going to pay a good amount of money for it. It will be interesting to see whether Aston Villa go back for him. They can go, there's a chance that they might go for him as well. Newcastle, there are rumors about Anthony Gordon leaving. There are rumors Isaac has given a massive bomb to Newcastle, but there's no use of bringing Douglas Luiz in for his. I think if Anthony Gordon decides to leave, there's a chance of Newcastle going for Luiz. There are other clubs. I mean, West Ham could go and try to get him. Everton are might look at him as well. But it'll be interesting to see what they can pay, and whether Luis wants to go there as well. The Juventus are going to be in Europe in next year. They are going to be in the Champions League, so he's basically going to leave a Champions League club and then come into the Premier League as well, and he's going to decide where he wants to go. I think he's going to go to the top 5, top 7 leagues. There's one thing that I think that is good, that could suit him perfectly is Spurs. The way that Thomas Frank is gonna play, I think Douglas Luiz is gonna suit really well for Spurs. And with the rumors of a lot of players that are linked with Spurs, and those moves not getting through to them, I think this is a really good move. If I'm being very honest with you, if Spurs really try to get him, I think it will be a really good addition to their squad. We all know he's a really good player. He can score goals on a whim. He can win you games from out of nowhere. He's that kind of a player, and Spurs really need a player like that in that number 10 role. A player who can play in the wings as well. A lot of Spurs players are going to mention James Maddison, but if I'm being very honest with you, I think Douglas Luiz is a better player than James Maddison. So Spurs might take a look at him as well. But it's not clear. This saga has just started. I think it is going to take him the last month or so for Douglas Luiz to decide where he ends up, and it will be interesting to see how many clubs react to this. It has happened, as I said, it has just materialized within the last 24 to 48 hours. He refused to go. He refused to attend for the training. He got fined, then he refused to go to the tour, and now they have openly said that there is no coming back from Douglas Luiz's side. Juventus, they still not have fully come out in the open and said that it's done and dusted, but from Luiz's side it feels like it's done. So it will be interesting to see how this materializes. As I said, I don't see that many clubs across Europe. I don't think there are clubs in the German league, I mean in the Bundesliga, that are going to pay the big bucks for him. I don't think anybody in La Liga is going to play as well. I mean, it again, if you look at the squads, if you look at the clubs, they don't, not many clubs at the moment need your typical number 10 who and that starting number 10 who can come in and who can score those goals, who can create goals for them. But again, you never know in football, anything can happen. So I think it will be an interesting one to see, and it will be interesting to see where he goes, because that is going to show the state of his mind as well. Sometimes and at the end of the day, he might end up staying at Juventus as well. But at the moment, if you are a Juve fan and you're seeing what is happening till now, the targets that Juventus have been linked with are not being are completed, and now this Douglas Luiz situation has risen up. So it is not a steady summer for Juve. Again, it is quite what's the word I want to use? It is quite an interesting, it is quite volatile summer. Yeah, that's the one I mean. It's quite volatile. It was a volatile summer last year, where they let go so many of their players, and they brought in so many of them players. Unfortunately, most of them did not really work for them. And this year again, they are trying to bring in a good number of players. Some of them are not happening, and now they have situations within the club as well. But as of now, the situationship, the relationship between Douglas Luiz and Juventus is completely off, and it looks like he is gonna move, and his preferred destination is the Premier League. And let me know what you guys think of the entire situation, and where do you think he could end up, and where do you think is going, is the best club for Douglas Luiz to sign. Let me know in the comment section below. Like the video, share it as well, click on the notification bell, and of course subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye bye.